stand up and give a lecture because my heart beats really fast and I get nervous. So if you guys talk back to me, and that's why the name tag, so some of you kind of have them and some don't, but I kind of like to say, well, hello. Well, tell me what it is and I'll try to remember.
Georgia.
Hey, Georgia. What do you think about that? So that way it's just more personal and I don't feel like if I mess up, I'm not like kicking myself later. So this feels good. So inflammation. So when you hear the word, I'm trying not to move too much. When you hear the word inflammation, what comes to your mind?
Swelling.
Swelling, yes.
Sugar.
Sugar? That's good.
Gluten.
What is it, gluten?
Gluten.
Gluten, yes. We're going to talk a lot about gluten because that's one of the major causes of inflammation. Is that anybody else?
Pain.
Pain. Mm-hmm.
Redness.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of bulgy.
Right. So the first inflammation, I think most people, that's the common one, is when you cut yourself or something and it gets red and swollen and inflamed. That's part of the healing process. Mm-hmm. So inflammation, the acute type, is really good for us because that's the healing. It's the white blood cells going to the area, secreting these chemicals that actually help the body heal. But when inflammation goes on too long, chronic inflammation hits, some diseases set in. And we'll talk about the specifics of that. Okay, read over that. I'm not going to read it for you. This is an important concept because I think that most people think that what we come with is what we have, and it's static. Like I have these genes, and that's it. And that's not really the case. You know, we're a fluid being, and we can change and evolve and grow and change by how we live and how we eat. So as we go through the presentation, I really want you to kind of think about this in your mind, saying, okay, what can I do? Things I can do in my day-to-day life that are going to determine how I am later. So how you eat now tells your genes what type of body you want to have later. Okay? I think it just, is it on the slideshow?
There we are.
There it is. Okay. So the objectives, because that's the standard thing that we do for PowerPoint. And that's the inflammation. So that's the important part. And the main thing is thinking about solutions and keeping in mind that the reason that I believe these talks are important is because we all have to be stewards of our own health care. We can't go into any provider and say, fix me, you know, and they're going to wave a magic wand and then you're going to be all fixed. It doesn't work that way. The reality is we know ourselves better than anybody does. And so in order for us to be well, we have to say, what's going on with me? Check in with myself. And then when you present to a provider, say, this, and this is what I think. What can you do from your medical profession to help me figure this out? So, okay, so we talked a little bit about inflammation from that kind of acute place where you cut yourself and your body starts to heal. The body has kind of two immunities. When you think about the innate is when you get a cut and your body just automatically starts to heal. There's no memory in that. It's a preparation. These cells there's tons of white blood cells and there's different lines and some of them, neutrophils specifically, they go and they're their first defenders. They go and they fight the infection at the source. And then you think about when you get an immunization. You get a shot. Your body says, okay, we're going to give you a small portion of this particular disease, measles, mumps, rubella, or if you had chicken pox. And so if you're exposed to chicken pox layers or measles, mumps, you won't get it because your body has this innate immunity that's built in when it has a memory. So saying, okay, oh, I remember you had this shot last time, and so now I'm going to protect you because I've built up these immune cells to actually fight that so you won't get the disease. And immunity is really what presents as the inflammation. It's when the inflammatory process goes on too long, and that's when it causes diseases. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you see how the immune system is related to it? Mm-hmm. Is it beneficial to tell it this way? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Guys, talk back to me because I'm kind of learning. Because the reason that my thought process was because, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself, but about allergies. So you have this pollen or whatever, and you start getting itchy, watery, red eyes, and the nose starts to run. Those chemicals that are being released that give you those feelings, those sensations of itchy and drainage, are like histamines and cytokines. They're these chemicals. And so they're actually trying to flush that irritant out so it's actually good for you. But part of that is the white blood cell reaction to it. So immediately, yes, let's do it, but what if that goes on too long? They're like security guards. You know, they come in and they protect the perimeter, but if it's a standoff, how long can they manage the fort if the attack goes on too long? Does that make sense? Okay. So those are the cuts, the redness, the swelling, the heat, healing your body, and then if you have an immunization, it's protecting your body from getting that disease later. Okay. So ideally, you have a flare-up. The white blood cells go in, they heal the body, it eradicates it, it subsides, and everything goes back to normal. There's no inflammation. Ideally. But oftentimes that isn't the case. And why isn't it the case?
We start worrying.
It isn't the case because, and I should, part of me wanted to say that stress is the underlying cause of disease because it perpetuates the inflammation. But it kind of was a milky, complex thing. So, but yes, stress. We think about it, we worry, our body starts to change and produce these extra chemicals, and it goes on and on and on. It never stops. So we can go to the next one. So this slide, I know it's busy, and Kathleen told me, no more busy slides from last time. And I tried not to do it. This is probably the busiest one. But the reason I liked it is because the areas of the body are highlighted. And if you can key into just one of them, let's go to something kind of obvious like the skin, because it's a cut, and we get that. And that's what we see externally, and we usually probably recognize those sooner. But stress and inflammation cause these things in each area of your body. So it makes it, I'm hoping to broaden and look at it from a systemic level. So when it gets chronic, it affects every area of your body. And so you might think, oh, I've got allergies. So I'm thinking it's this external stimuli like pollen that's doing it. But what I'm going to touch on later is that your body can react just like you can have itchy eyes, sore throat, the runny drainage eyes from your gut. Inflammation leaking out into your system causing the same symptoms. Because inflammation anywhere presents like inflammation everywhere. So, inflammation is the center of all disease. And we're going to explain why. All right, and this kind of goes into kind of overlap from last time's presentations. Kathleen was the only one that was here. We talked about stress hormones in health and some of the hormones that cause stress and some that are opposed to stress. Cortisol is a stress hormone. The cortisol is released from your kidneys. Your adrenals sit on top of the kidneys, and the adrenals actually release cortisol. What it's meant for is that you've heard stress and digest, rest and stress, fight or flight. Yes, thank you. So the adrenals are in control of that. Now, when we worry and we're stressed, we put ourselves in the fight or flight mode way longer than we need to. And we're thinking, and so we get depleted. So the stress hormone goes up and increases inflammation in your body. So when you have these stress hormones that are excessive, they can cause you to gain weight and not lose it because it's floating around in your circulation. Estrogen is another one that does that. So lucky women are really happy. And it affects how you metabolize and how your energy levels are. Unstressed people, I said, they really good. So, you're not in this.
Yeah.
I think it's relative. I think it's about your perception of. I mean, I don't think stress is impossible, but how you handle it, how you perceive it, how you negotiate it.
was just going to ask you, what if you, when you're stressed out, you're the type of person that doesn't gain weight, doesn't eat more?
That's me. I do that too.
That's what I do.
Yeah, some people, when they're stressed, they eat more, and some people eat less. Then there's a stress. It doesn't present that way, but it can present in hormonal imbalances in other places. For me, my testosterone went way down. So, you know, it can present another way. Not necessarily weight gain for you or me. But for most people, when you eat more, it causes that. So, did you guys remember when this came out? I think it was about maybe 5 years ago when they decided that obesity was a medical condition.
Yeah. That was controversial.
Did you think about, maybe not, maybe why they said that?
Maybe just because of a higher population, and after studies they find out like people that are obese or dealing with some form of that, they all have these certain things that, whether it's like outside conditions, like things that are environmental, or things that are internal, like, I don't know, like maybe because it was like, I don't know the percentage right now, but it's very high.
It's pretty high. I think 60% are overweight and about 50 are obese. Maybe flipped as far as the national population. And women and then demographics on race are even more skewed, but it's average 50, yes ma'am.
I feel like, I mean, this is great to finally sort of see this in writing. I feel like when we talk about obesity, we're always talking about individual behavior. Like, you're not eating right, or you're making poor food choices, you're not exercising. But like to acknowledge the stress element and sort of this systematic things leading to inflammation.
To set the
whatever.
stage for obesity to happen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Maybe it's not just individual choice.
Right.
And
we're not just blaming people saying you just need to do this.
Right.
And when we had our last talk, Stress, Hormones, and Health, we talked about the 5 pillars of health. And we talked about how people, like, you notice you're gaining weight, so what do? You stop eating certain things and so much of those things, and you start exercising. So nutrition and exercise, first 2 things we do. But there are 5 pillars. And then you do all this stuff, but you don't lose any weight. And you're like, well, what's wrong? I'm doing all the things they say you're supposed to do. But the other pillars are stress, hormones, and detox. So if you do those 2 things and things aren't changing, then yeah, there's some other things going on that have to be addressed to help you be successful in your healthy goals. Yeah, Georgia, you look so intense. You look very intense. Like, yeah.
You said the 5 pillars of what? Of health?
Yes.
Okay. Of
Strict.
good health, or just, the reason I'm asking is,
Well, health
pillars,
is,
like a support. So you're saying stress. So management of stress, or just stress?
well, it's management of all of those,
Okay.
but just to kind of coin it in a term,
Gotcha.
it's stress, not in any particular order. I just think you have to address the priority for each person. So it's stress, detox, hormones, nutrition, and fitness, exercise. Thank you. I keep giving that one. Okay. Adipocytes. Do you like that word? The fat cell? Adipocytes. So this is a pretty slide. It's colorful. It's clear.
Yeah.
How can I say? So not to get too technical, the first one that I think about, because inactivity and obesity generally go together. So, and then adipocytes, or adipocytes, some people say. So when we think about fat cells and inactivity, fat cells, there are fat-soluble toxins and there are water-soluble toxins. The more fat you have, the more likely that you have fat-soluble toxins within them. And because there are toxins in there, they're releasing certain chemicals that react like histamines and cytokines, causing you to have more inflammation. And so that inflammation attracts more of the same, and then you get maybe diabetes. because now the insulin that's supposed to go into the cells can't get there because of resistance from these chemicals floating around that shouldn't be there. So that's kind of how the inflammation can transcend into these other things. And back in, I think it was around the late 80s, early 90s, when we started talking about fat. Cholesterol was a big deal. And it was about, oh, you can't eat any fat anymore. So saturated fat, I mean, obviously saturated fat is a bad thing, but all fats got kicked out because this is what causes heart disease. That was the lie, that was the information, and that's what they did. No butter, no fats, no anything. So now what we're realizing that, yeah, you can have some plaque built up on your arteries, but the reason why the plaque got built there is because there was insidious inflammation causing the vessel to restrict and not allowing the blood to flow through, causing high cholesterol numbers, also causing hypertension and other cardiovascular disease. And so, go to the next one. I have a list of, there we are. So inflammation by location. Anytime you see itis, like if your doctor says, oh, you got this sinusitis, you got pancreatitis, you got the itis. What happens when you eat too much? You get the itis. You get the itis, right? So anytime you have itis, it's inflammation. So look at all the places that, and this is just my list that I came up with, but there's tons of areas of your body where you can have inflammation for a variety of reasons. Yes.
What someone chronically gets cellulitis, would that just be considered inflammation of where the infection is? It would be inflammation of the skin?
Cellulitis is inflammation of the skin.
Okay.
And so chronically, why? Is it something from the inside out or something from the outside in? We have bacteria on our skin that lives there normally. That keeps us healthy, so that's good. But when you cut yourself and it goes inside, it's not supposed to be there. And there could be things coming outside of your skin that can cause it too. So we have to find out what the cause of it is. We see that it's inflammation, but what caused the inflammation on the back end? And we're going to get to the causes of inflammation as we talk more. But so
my husband chronically gets cellulitis, so that's why. And we've always said from day one we think it's stress related, and the doctors have always been like, no. But as time has gone on, and he's been dealing with this for 7 years, they're finally saying, okay, yeah, we think it is. Okay, can you help us, give us examples on how to go about this, because we've tried this and we've tried that, but he is still getting it, and what.
And then what happens in traditional treatment for cellulitis, and I believe in using drugs when they're necessary.
That's when
so they give an antibiotic. An antibiotic, it kills the bad bacteria that can cause the infection, but what does it do to the rest of your body? Chronic use of antibiotics destroys your immunity, which makes you more susceptible to infection. So the cycle kind of continues, and that could be partly why they treat with the antibiotic. Your immunity goes down, it gets rid of it, but then what happens later? You get exposed to something else, your immunity's down, you can't fight it, you have it again, and it goes on. So that's part of the cycle, and why you have to go back and say, what can I do to build my immunity so that I'm not, even allergies. Some people never have them. Some people always have them. Is it just the pollen? Maybe. Okay. So this is a kind of a piggyback on the same thing. Over time we think that, especially being a provider, you hear your peers saying, they're just getting older. They've got arthritis just because they're getting older. Do they have to have arthritis because they're getting older? There's obviously an inflammatory process going on, and it's presenting in their joints. But what can we do to increase inflammation overall so it doesn't present anywhere? So if you live a lifestyle that promotes it by eating certain things and not eating other things, then it's likely you're going to have it. But there's a way where you don't have to. So this just kind of shows kind of a different schematic of the same thing. What really determines aging for most of us? So that first slide that we talked about, how you're not frozen and static, and how you can make some changes in how you live. So this is kind of an order of hierarchy, the base of your pyramid is where you have the most power. Because we always think genetics, however I'm built and made, that's just how it is. But all of us have every gene for everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's how we live that determines what's going to present and what's not going to present. So our lifestyle, we get to choose that. How we eat, how we manage stress, how we move, the relationships we have. The environment, in part, we can control. I mean, that's part of your relationship with people, where you live, what type of house you live in. But some things we can't, like the water we drink and the air that we breathe. Some of the foods we can't totally control, and they have things in it that can cause problems. But for the most part, we can at least try to choose. Physiology, chemistry, we can change some of that by how we live as well. But, some genetic things are static. But most of it we have control over. So if I had odds that were 70 to 90% that I had control over, I think I would do that. 30% otherwise, I think I would do that. Okay, so I was hoping to get, so standard, if I have pain in my knee, they said I have arthritis, what do most people do? They go to Walgreens and they get Aleve, Motrin, Tylenol, all of these and non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. You can buy them over the counter. And I was talking to a gentleman about a week ago. He was an older guy. And he was convinced that the Tylenol cured his pain. I said, well, why does it keep coming back? If it cured it, because he really thought that it's curing you, but you keep taking it. He was like, well, it cures it for that time. I said, maybe it masks it. You just don't feel it. It's still there. And then what do NSAIDs do? Okay, so this, I thought was interesting. I'm trying to get ahead of myself a little bit. 4.4% of the world's population, United States, us here. But we use 52% of all the drugs in the world. And we are, I guess we're a first world country because we classify other countries as third world. I don't know, are there any second worlds? I haven't heard that term. It's just first and third. So. But we're like an industrialized power nation. And we're using lots of pharmaceuticals. So I thought that was an interesting thing that identifies our stress, maybe, our perception of it, and our use of it to help manage. Let's go to the next one. Okay. So you take the anti-inflammatory. And so inflammatory processes are very physiological. There's pathways. When you make sugar in your body, there's a pathway that makes it. When you stop pain, there's a pathway. So the same with inflammation. So there's different pathways. So when you take a drug, it blocks a pathway that you don't feel it. So if you block one pathway that you don't feel it, you're actually creating inflammation in another pathway. So over the long haul, it's really not that good. And so in this case, we're thinking about the gut. So you take the drug, it has to be filtered through your liver and your kidneys. So it can damage some of those. That's why we have, at least for Tylenol, there's daily dose limits. Because if you OD on Tylenol, you can, if you have more than, it used to be 4 grams, I think it's 3 grams of Tylenol a day, you cannot be here. So it's very serious business. So if you take it, it goes into your, goes through your digestive tract to get to where it's going to do and release the chemicals to block the pathway that causes inflammation. But what does it do in your gut? Your digestion, rural digestion, where it goes into your bloodstream is in your small intestine. The cell lining of the small intestines are 1 cell thick. So it can heal and respond and change pretty quickly. So you have junctions that hold your cells together like this, that penetrate the outside of the membranes. So over time, you got this inflammation, these drugs, the junctions come open. And so particles, large proteins, histamines, food, things that are not supposed to get into your bloodstream start to go there. And you get this allergic response. Because 70% of your immunity is in your gut. And I never knew that before I started practicing functional medicine. Why is it that people are sicker and sicker that eat crap as opposed to people who don't? It's because we have that control and our immunity is right there, right where the food is entering our body. So you get leaky gut. things are not supposed to be outside in the bloodstream. They're supposed to be in the cells of your gut, are leaking over, causing a whole new set of inflammation, which presents like allergies, this runny nose, this itchy, this clearing your throat, this coughing. It'll also cause bloating and gas and constipation and indigestion. These are all inflammatory processes.
So is that an actual diagnosis?
Which one?
Leaky gut.
Yes. In my world.
So if you're a relatively healthy individual and you know, because I'm thinking about this for myself, I suffer from allergies, but I pretty much I have a pretty clean diet. So when I think about the inflammation, because the itchy eyes, the, swollen, glands, the sore throat, all of that, I'm trying to figure out making the connection between my gut, that happening, and the types of foods that I eat and how that is affecting or impacting or triggering some of those same symptoms.
And what have you concluded?
I haven't come to a conclusion
Okay.
yet. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with my system, especially when it comes to the allergies, because I just don't think that people are naturally meant to be allergic to nature. I think we're born into this world and we should naturally be able to, evolution over hundreds of thousands of years should have got us to the point where we are not sensitive to the things around us, but because of all the introduction of chemicals in our food.
Exactly, because the food is not the same.
pesticides
Wheat is not the
and
same
things.
wheat that it used to be, and we're
Right.
sensitized to it. So wheat is one of the main things that causes leaky gut. So wheat, it's a how can I say it? My thoughts are getting ahead of myself. So when you eat wheat, it has we call it gliadin. It's immunoglobulin in the wheat. And so over time, they put it in, it's in bread, but they put it in the thickeners in your gravy. They put it in makeup that we use. And so they put it in soaps and lotions and creams, and it's in everything. So you're not only eating it, but you're putting it on your skin, so your body's like totally sensitized, and you're like reacting to everything because it's overstimulated by all these options for this gluten. So we're not living in an environment like maybe our parents were, because we're over bombarded, and then the air and the water and things are just not the same. So you might think that we should be immune to it, but when we're bombarded by all of these triggers, we have to identify what my particular trigger is so that I can know what to avoid and how to build my immune system up so that it doesn't respond so violently or acutely to these stimuli. So food allergies, stool testing, skin testing to figure out what your particular trigger is. And so when we get further along, there's going to be a slide that says what are inflammatory foods and what are anti-inflammatory foods. What can decrease inflammation from the inside. So that's a little information about the drugs. 600 studies. Increase cardiovascular disease. And they're supposed to be non-steroidal, anti-inflammatory drugs. And yet they cause heart disease. Doesn't that seem like an oxymoron?
Yeah, it does. Very much so.
Like, what? Well, it goes back to the pathways. So we know that the medication blocks a certain pain pathway that causes inflammation that you're trying to stop the feeling of. It's not stopping the actual pain, really. You just don't feel it. But it's initiating another cascade of inflammatory processes. That's why it can be triggers of heart disease. I like that. Because we like drugs and everything. We like to go to a provider and say, I feel like this. Like people come to me all the time. I work at the urgent care sometimes too. And they went on Google and they read all these symptoms and they got them and they tell me what they have. I got a sinus infection. I need an antibiotic. Really? Let me check. Okay, so now we're about solutions. I think I got it. Let's go. Okay. I think I may have got my slides out of order. I was hoping to go through the food stuff, but it's okay. So, anybody ever use any natural anti-inflammatories? Which ones? Are they the ones listed?
Yeah.
And have they worked?
Yes, love it.
I know.
I got bitten by a wasp, and my entire arm was, what is it, cellulitis? Was inflamed, and I took a ginger and turmeric shot, and the next day it was gone.
You said shot, what do you mean?
Or not shot, sorry, like
A drink, like a shot
like
glass.
a shot drink.
No injection.
Not an injection.
A shot glass.
But it was gone. I was in so much pain with it. It was gone the very next day. Like magic.
And it works without side effects, and it builds your immunity too.
How do you use yours? I take turmeric capsules and I drink the tea a lot and arthritis, and in about 3 months, it really, just turned that around. And then I try to include fresh ginger, drink cayenne pepper, and some water.
Yes. It's not like a drug where you take it and like 30 minutes later you feel better. It is a cumulative. But I mean, benefit risks. It's like, it's going to work in a synergy. It's food. So it's going to have synergy where it's going to do a whole lot of other things, decrease the pain, but also build your overall immunity so that you don't get sick again. So, yes, I'm glad you've used these. Ginger. Yes. Okay. What about any minerals? We talked about magnesium last time for cramping. Magnesium is in chocolate. So women, when they start getting crampy, they eat chocolate, and they like the sweet. I mean, they're probably craving the sugar too, but their body's also craving the magnesium, and that's part of why they're attracted to it. So magnesium. Yeah.
That and cherries. Magnesium is also in cherries. And it helps put you to sleep if you have a hard time.
Yeah, magnesium, they put it in medication for rest too. It's a skeletal muscle relaxant, so it kind of, and they put it in laxatives too, so don't overdo it. They're different, like citrate or, different types. So yes, calcium, magnesium, working together on the junction of the cells. Hey, that's what it is. So we're back to where we started. Time Magazine said it too. So I thought that was a nice little rounded off, not just me saying it.
Do you know much about, is it Epigenetics?
Epigenetics.
Do you know much about that? Oh, it's on the cover.
Epigenetics is a new upcoming field where you can actually, and now there's a 23andMe, Google it. You can get your DNA tested for $199. And that way you know what drugs are going to work for you, how you metabolize this, and how to approach it. Have you noticed, anybody like asparagus?
Yeah.
And do you smell it when you go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't.
Really?
I thought everybody did.
I love asparagus.
But it doesn't come out of your drink?
No, I don't smell it.
Oh, it has a distinct smell.
I don't smell
And
it.
everybody does it, and that's a part of the metabolism that I learned from 23andMe.
Cilantro, I think, as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How you metabolize it and how you filter it determines, it's part of your genetic makeup. How you metabolize folate and your energy pathways. And so if you know that, then you can better say how you're going to treat your body and what you need to do to be well. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
So say there's like an issue like in your family, like everybody. I'm just going to use my example. My mother had her gallbladder taken out. It stopped working. When I started having problems, I went to my doctor, and they said that my doctor said that it was probably what I was eating that caused it. And then when I had an ultrasound, they found polyps in it. And then I went and saw a surgeon. The first surgeon I saw, I didn't care for him. He didn't help me. The second surgeon I saw, he actually thought that it was not what I ate, but the genetics that because I told my mother had hers removed, and they found out that it wasn't working. He took into account my symptoms, and he said, it sounds like you have the exact same thing that she had, only you're catching it 10, 15 years before.
She did.
Yeah, and so I went and had mine taken out, and they confirmed that it just stopped working. It wasn't working anymore after they tested it. Would that be something that I would need to probably keep in mind for my kids?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think you also have to recognize that perspectives are different. You know, when you go to a conventional doctor, and especially if you go to a surgeon, they like to do surgery. And so their perspective is going to be about, okay, and you gave them information that they could use that supported that. That doesn't mean that it was not, they were dishonest. I'm just saying sometimes, you know, the gallbladder really is just holding. It just holds the bile that helps break down fats. It's right by the liver. It's right behind it, so things can get blocked and things can accumulate. You can get stones and polyps and things, yes. But it's just it flushes things out. So there's a way to actually flush that out, and maybe you can keep it. But if your perspective is such that you're going to take it out and you don't need it, then that's an option too. So
I've just
genetics.
My body is a lot happier since having it removed, and realizing that I didn't know I was in. You get used to pain.
Right.
You get used to eating a certain way or not eating certain things, and then when that issue is removed, and someone asks you, "How are you feeling?" and then you think, "Oh wow, yeah, I haven't had this pain in my side. I've been able, and I try to eat foods that I hadn't been able to eat for years, and I can eat these foods, and there's no issue." And it's like that was the problem, and you don't realize you suffer for so long because you're so used to it. And it's just so nice when that's taken away that you can start
actually
enjoying
live
things.
right and not have the pain.
So, I mean, for years.
So
I didn't
certainly,
know
it
that.
sounds like it's a genetic component to it that you would, for your children and family members,
Something
siblings,
keep
to
in mind.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so things to avoid. These are pro-inflammatory foods. I was surprised.
Yeah.
With the what? Yeah, right?
But it's a saturated fat. So,
You hear all this great stuff about coconut oil.
Yeah.
I know, I'm not saying don't use it. I mean, we need a certain amount of inflammation. Something, but when it becomes chronic and bad. So I debated whether to put it on here because I know.
What would be considered white foods?
White bread, white rice.
Oh, okay, like flour.
Yeah, white flour. Yeah. Not white. White.
I wanted to hear what you thought of those. Like,
Turkey roll-ups.
I know. They didn't have wheat ones.
White bean soup next door yesterday.
White beans are good.
Okay.
So white flour, that's not the best one. They
Overly
didn't have.
processed stuff.
Yes, because it's usually processed. They usually take stuff out.
Like cereals and things like that too.
Sugar.
What if your child only wants white food? What do you do?
Well, it's a
like-
retraining process.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to retrain. And the hope is that you don't start them. Once you start them, it's really hard to pull back. It's really hard to pull back.
Very specific question about the white foods. I don't eat a lot of bread, but I've kind of started eating, if I do, I'll get spelt. Is that better?
It
Not
is.
better?
It's a whole grain.
Okay. That's kind of white looking as far as bread goes. Maybe I
It's
should.
an ancient grain.
Yeah.
It's a whole grain.
Yeah.
I like spelt.
Sameerah, what are good substitutes for the butter in the margarine?
I would do coconut. But I don't, yeah. They have the coconut that you can spread. It's like solid. Yeah, I don't know what you call it.
Still coconut oil, it's just in a jar.
Yeah, okay.
It's harder.
It's harder. I think they may put something else in it to kind of keep it. So the good stuff, omega-3 fats are anti-inflammatory. inflammation. And until I get more information, I'm not going to put it out. But I thought, really? The chronic kind. So, it's going to be interesting. So, eating live food. That's what it boils down to. Eating foods that are real, that have a synergistic effect, and keep us healthy. I don't know why it's so hard. Why is food so hard? I always ask that question because as a provider, I try to do food first. And people just cannot do it. It's like pulling teeth.
People have emotional attachments to food. I mean, we eat a lot of times not for to sustain. We eat to, like, you know, it's like, for me, I eat for, this right here brings me pleasure. But there are some people, like my family, there's events that surround food.
Yeah, it's very social.
It's very social. So when my family gets together, it's the, you know, chicken and dressing, macaroni and cheese, it's the Southern diet. And when I try to bring things to them, it's like, girl, that's too healthy. You know, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, and I even try to, like, put it in such a way, or cook it in such a way, or, you know, dress it in such a way that I think it would be appealing to them, but it's not. It's like they will walk past my dish.
Like the time you bring this? No.
It's like my cousin was like, oh, did you bring this? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, we're going to go to this. You know, and it's like I sit there and I'm like, but this is so good. It tastes so good. You know, and it's the mindset. You have to really work on people's mindset when it comes to food.
Palate change.
Yeah, it's a paradigm shift. Like,
And there's the time. A lot of people just, you know, family and work. And you find yourself doing things that are convenient rather than and quick rather than what.
But that's why you can eat raw. You don't have to cook anything. Just open up an avocado, and you don't have to cook. Because somebody said to me once, "Oh, you're on a raw diet." I'm like, "No, I just don't like to cook."
Because fruits are raw, nuts are raw.
yeah.
You know, there's lots of those to eat.
I think another would be attachment and the comfort food. I think people sometimes use the excuse that McDonald's is so much cheaper. But you go to the East Nashville Farmers Market or Barnes Produce on Gallatin and you can spend $12 and eat for a week or two.
And it's just knowing.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think it's part of it is definitely a social construct, but it's about how you feel about yourself, too. Like, wouldn't you want to eat better? Because we know what all that does. You know, it makes you sick. And so, yeah, it's cheap now. You get a $2 burger from McDonald's, but you're going to be paying later. I'd rather pay for organic food now and pay for organic food later, you know, and not have that residual effect later of this sickness that I'm going to be indebted to for the rest of my life. I don't know how to translate it. That's my challenge.
We know how good we're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
And I think we're used to not feeling good, so then that's just the result of like, oh, this is just how it is. But once you start to live better, you're like, this is how good I'm supposed to feel.
That's
So then
exactly
you
right.
don't
I agree.
want that anymore.
I agree too.
I think it's also really hard to change. Like, you're so used to doing something, it's just easier to keep doing these bad behaviors versus changing. Because what if you don't like it? And what if it makes me feel this way or feel that way? I know how this makes me feel, so I'm just gonna stay with this, so it feels more comfortable.
Yeah, it's very familiar. And my circle of people do that. And then it almost becomes a mirror. Have you noticed that? Like when I go out to places to eat with people, they're always like, oh, you're eating that? You don't. I'm like, I never told you I was this, or that. I eat what I want to eat. You just assume that I was this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it makes them more aware of what they're eating because of how you're eating.
Yeah.
And no, people don't want to feel that way. They're like, you're not really saying anything. You're just eating what you eat.
Well, it's also, I think, that whole holistic approach to it is not just the food, but it's the mind and also like the way you feel. Because I know for myself, like when I'm doing yoga, like I notice like, man, you should not have eaten that half a pizza last night.
Yeah.
You know? And so there's, and I mean, I never. But I have to look at it like holistically, like taking the time to think mindfully. When I'm eating this, I'm going to feel this way, or I'm feeling this way as a result of. And there, I think there's a lot of time of mindfully thinking, what are the results of how I'm living?
That's right.
And once it all becomes important, not just the food, but holistically, I think then we would think about, okay, when I eat foods from that other list, that this isn't as good.
Right.
So it's not just the physical, it's everything.
And trying to translate that in a way that motivates people to do it.
But
Because
also,
if you
it's our
get-
culture.
Yeah, because and everybody's doing it. So why would I want to not? You know?
Yeah.
So that's hard. And then I think the next thing is like superfoods. Those green algae, chlorella, those are what I'm classifying as superfoods. And then they do a lot for the body to clean you up, get your bowels moving. And I didn't realize how people just don't poop.
I didn't either.
I mean, there's chronic constipation all around us. Like, they'll go once a week. That's why you're so mean. You're full of food. No, what? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. What are sea vegetables?
Oh, like, seaweed,
Oh,
spirulina, chlorella.
Oh,
Yeah.
kale from the sea.
Kale is
No.
Oh, you're saying
Oh, yeah, blueberries one.
Yeah, superfoods. Kale.
Oh, yeah.
kale.
Yeah.
Like,
No, kale.
Oh yeah, blueberries one too.
KELP. And there's this green drink that you can drink that cleans out your digestive system so that you don't have
Actually, what is sea
breath.
vegetables?
It's chlorophyll. It's a chlorophyll drink. So it's amazing. And it's green. So it has antioxidants, prevents cancer, builds up your cells. So, purify your liver. Oh, that's good. So, read those. So this prevents inflammation. What the inflammation does to your body that makes you look older. So doing these things can help prevent that process. Increase your telomere length. I know. I thought about not putting that on there. DNA.
No, telophase.
Yeah, that's one of the phases of cell development, like mitosis and meiosis.
Yeah.
So telomeres are the end of each DNA strand, and they shorten over time when we age. So the shorter your telomere length, the shorter your life.
But you can change that.
That you can change. You can. You can. So the epigenetics
exactly how
piece
it does.
affected your DNA.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is. That's partly. You speak life into yourself.
That's right, Georgia.
And you speak life, that means you make good choices.
that's right.
And you support that by living a certain way. So we have the power, really. You do. And you just have to take it. And be firm and find people that support that circle of information so that we can all be healthy. And that you be the example for that next phase of your family that only wants mac and cheese. You know, you put some whole grain pasta in it. I don't know. You know?
I'm gonna tell you, I actually just bought this book. It's Soul Food, Love, and it's Alice Randall and her daughter wrote this. And they're looking at healthy recipes that have been inspired by 100 years of cooking in a black family.
Yeah, so I
just
mean,
actually
there's
bought
got to
that,
be
and I don't know,
ways.
I'm gonna tell you this. I got this out of the car, not realizing I was gonna come in here today. And I was planning on reading something else and doing something else. But I was like, I'm gonna grab this cookbook because I wanna take some time to look through it. And then bumped into this man on the escalator.
Who was coming to help me.
Who was coming to help her. There's this full circle right here. So, anyways, that book, you all can feel free to look at it. I got it from our Parnassus. So,
Yeah, and Tanya is the owner of the Post East. So if you're in East Nashville, go check her out. The Post East, it's a cafe, smoothie, coffee shop. They have foods and juices and all this stuff that we're talking about. She has all that good stuff. Coffee
It's
too.
something that I started a few months ago. Bad sinus, arthritis, and so in 8 months, just been really doing a clean diet, but still allergies and somebody put me on to a little mini treatment.
Yeah.
And I started
stimulates your lymphatics.
And so when I did, it was like, oh my gosh.
Drainage.
And in pain all the time when you first start doing it.
Yeah.
But after doing it every day, my balance has improved, and it really does make you feel so much better.
Yeah. It drains the lymphatics. The only circulatory system that we're familiar with is the heart circulation, because it has the pump to push everything around. But there's another circulation, it's the lymphatics. It doesn't have a pump. What pumps it, what moves it is us, our muscles moving. So we flush things out, and so vibrating and a trampoline can flush those things out and remove things out of your body that we didn't even think about. So that's a great. So exercise is important. Swimming is important. Oh, that's it. That's fine. Yay, I'm done. No. I get so nervous. Yes, ma'am.
This was great, and I wonder what recommendations you have for residents of Nashville who are looking to especially seek professional guidance and advice on this topic, who are feeling frustrated with typical Western medicine and what their insurance will pay for, and just being like, this just feels like a waste of my time. I'm not connecting with this information, and I want more of this information that you are presenting. Is there a network of providers with functional medicine?
It's growing. It's growing. I practice functional medicine. Dr. Hasse, who is in Brentwood and Clarksville, practices functional medicine. There was a great provider, nurse practitioner, Paige Adams. She had an office for a very long time on Charlotte. She just passed away. She had Lyme disease. Yeah, it's very, very sad. So the community's growing, but insurance is a big hindrance to actually applying it, because as a provider, we know there are certain things that we could test in a different way, because traditional labs don't do all the testing. So we have to be very creative. And a lot of times they're cash pay practices, just so we don't have to go through the loopholes, because there's a diagnosis called, there's low stomach acid. They call that indigestion in the conventional world. And they want to give you a drug for it, which makes it even worse, because it suppresses the acid even more. But if I call it hypochlorhydria, because it's less acid in the stomach, but there's no formal diagnosis for it. So they're not going to pay me if I code that on an ICD-9 or ICD-10 chart. But I could treat somebody for that in my way, in a functional medicine way, but they're not going to pay. So as a business, how do you support yourself? You don't support yourself through insurance. It's cash paid really. So that eliminates certain people sometimes, because, it's more expensive. So we try to make it creative, where we offer this test for this at a discount or something. You just have to be creative. So the community's growing. It's not quite where it is. We live in the medical mecca. I think I said this before. The Frist brothers, the family, they're senators and they're medical doctors. It's illegal to practice naturopathic medicine in the state of Tennessee because they've made laws against it. So certain things we can't even have access to legally. So it's, it's a system that supports the Vanderbilts, the TriStars, and that model keeps people generally sick. So that's another reason why we all have to take responsibility for our own health and go and demand it. And then if the people demand it, they start to change.
Yeah.
So we see it.
Boston Clinic down at Third and Church, they try to practice in homeopathic, and I started going to them because of that. And they're wonderful, wonderful people. And they will at least, so I had Lyme disease, and I still have the effects of it, because, there's so little known about it, and it's so controversial in how to treat it, so I still have Lyme, and I have lots of inflammation as a result. And I have flare-ups, and then it'll go in remission for a while. these same people down here. So it's called, I think it's called Third and Church. If you just go to the Third and Church website, I'll give you both locations. But they're really good. They listen if you say, I don't want conventional, and they would even recommend, alternative medicine people. So that's why I came today, because of all this line. And I thought, I already do the turmeric tonic. I do garlic tea. I do essential oils, because I just found out that peppermint oil is the only thing I can get immediate relief from a sinus headache. There's nothing. There's nothing else. It's unbelievable, and it's a really strong strain. They told me that someone just sent it to me, and it's unbelievable. So you just put it on your temples, you put a drop under your tongue, under your ears, immediate relief. And you reapply as needed, but I'm trying to find all of these alternative remedies, I guess I should say, and natural. And that's why I first started vegetarian. Wasn't because of the love of animals, I love them. But I'm like, I will eat you. So I did it for health initially.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
I know.
about
Eating the animals.
The energy that they hold when they're about to die.
Yes. But there's so many different things that I am finding out that truly give relief. Now, when you have something that's as invasive as Lyme, it's maybe going to take a little bit more and a longer time and trying this and trying that. But there are people that, when you find them, grab onto them like these doctors. I can't recommend them enough because, yes, they're in it. It's their business. They will go conventional, but they will listen and hear you and direct you and not just say, you have to have medicines. Like they're so honoring of that. And of course, Tennessee being in the top 10 of obesity.
We're a southern state.
Yeah. They and I came from New Jersey where there's a lot of Italian people and it's all about food and family, everything. You sit down and you eat and you eat and you eat and you eat. But it really bothers me to think that people think it's just part of life to have a hip replaced or to have a knee replaced when you don't have to have that knee replaced. It's because of your lifestyle. And you can avoid all of these things, and it is so frustrating to, how do you translate that to people where they understand?
And I think we just have to be that example. And we have to plant seeds, and we have to be patient. And just represent it the best we can so they can say, well, what are you doing? And then you say this. So, well, I appreciate you guys. Any more questions or comments or critiques? I like critiques because I'm trying to get better with this. So please, what can I do to make it better?
I think you gave lots of good information. I mean, I didn't find anything to be wrong with the presentation that you did today.
Okay, good. I try not to get too basic and not too technical.
I like sometimes the technical, like the way you explained, like the breakdown of the food and as it's going through the body. And to me, I'm a visual person, so I actually start having it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. I'm trying to make it simpler and get better every time, so I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Do you see acupuncture as a way to help with inflammation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I believe acupuncture, that's one of my favorite things. I think about it like when a sperm and an egg meet, it's just two cells, right? What makes those cells differentiate into us? It's the energy, the meridian centers that are controlled by acupuncture. So that's upstream. That's the energy. That's what makes everything, the frequencies, the vibrations. So absolutely. That's the good stuff. We go back there, we can fix.
You see that as like it'd be more beneficial for you over time versus this, like, say you went and had it just done.
Like that. And some things do take a little more time. So it depends on what you're treating and targeting. And what your physical body's presenting with. Because in order for healing to happen, healing has to happen in a certain environment. That's why, as you were saying about, I had to cut out this and do this and eat like this. So if you're putting things in your body that don't promote health, you're not going to get to the healing part. So your body has to be in a certain position to even receive it. So that's a part of the process as well. So some things may take longer because you have to do that work in addition to it.
So did you give your address?
Oh, that's where I am on 8th Avenue South. I'm a nurse practitioner, and then we have a naturopath who technically doesn't exist, but he has a PhD. So he operates under his PhD, not his naturopath. And we have a therapist who does mental health as well. Because the body is a whole entity. It's not your heart, your bones, your lungs, your skin. We treat people. So
I had the opportunity to, I think it was a consultation between you and I, when maybe it's been 6 months. It was maybe an hour, and the question Sameerah asked, she drew these connections between what I was experiencing physically, and it was a timeline of what was happening with me emotionally, physically, where I was geographically, and I was like, kind of thinking, these are interesting questions, and then at the end, it was like she mapped it and said, well, have you noticed that when you had your fourth child, this symptom began? No. Like I hadn't connected it until you, because of the way you saw sort of this, as you were saying, this holistic aspect of health. So, I'd say it's fascinating.
but it's real. You told me. I just
True,
kind of pieced it
but you
together.
asked. I just didn't see it, and I'm like, wow.
So I kind of feel like an investigator.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I have to kind of take what you give me, piece it together, and then say, what is that? What does that mean to you? It looks like this, you know, so that's just, you know.
And there are things I could take responsibility for that didn't come from Walgreens. It's like,
Right. And it's a slower process, but it's a process that you're like the master of your domain. You own it. So if it goes whatever way, you know, I'm not the healer or the fixer. You made it or not, you know. So I think that's more important. Because doctors or providers generally have that God complex sometimes. Like, I am the person that did the thing that made the person this way. So you are the person that made you this way. Thank you, guys.
We're lucky because we have you 2 more times, right?
Yes, we have May or what is
So, and then also, she also does on Saturdays. Well, this would be her second Saturday. Sarah was her person in Special Collections, watching a film, talking about history, and then natural uses. So we are lucky to have Sameerah, and I'll just post and share things when I find out what the next topic is.
Thank you. It's called Juice in a Movie on Saturdays.
Just a movie.
It's usually a documentary type movie.
Is that here? In your
It's
space?
here. No, it's upstairs in the Civil Rights Room. It's on the 30th. The next one is the 30th of April.
So Friday, have you been to the Civil Rights Room?
I